Hey, what is going on, ladies and the gentlemen? Welcome to the 5K special Q&A video, which kinda sounds lame for this type of milestone. I wish I had something better lined up in just one video, but I also have more stuff to announce for this upcoming year, and another video I'll be releasing soon. This was more just for fun than anything else, and I thought it would be nice to answer any burning questions you guys happen to have. Speaking of which, you guys sent me a lot of questions, so we might as well get started. Yeah, so you guys sent me a lot of questions, most of which were on the Discord, which is fine, that's what the Discord is pretty much for. A lot of them were really good questions, and some of them were these ones. But without any further ado, let's get started with the ones that replied to my YouTube post. What's your favorite country to play, and what is the most difficult feature in EU4 for you? I'd say, just because of how broken they are, one of my favorite nations to play is probably Germany. Another enjoyable one is Japan, because you can do all the colonial stuff that you usually don't get to do as Germany, but pretty much have the same benefits in your ridiculously overpowered army. So those are probably my two best contenders for my favorite ones in EU4. As for the most difficult feature, I really wouldn't say there's a particularly most difficult feature, but it's just like remembering small things here and there. So, if you give me about 6 things to do in about 1 month that I'm supposed to remember, I'll maybe do 3 of them. That's just how things turn out, pretty much. Why did you start playing history games like EU4? Well, to start off with, that's quite a long question to answer, because I really started my first history game probably as Civ 5, to be honest with you. Civ 5 I discovered through, I don't even remember, to be honest with you. But that was back when I was maybe 10 or 11 years old is when I started playing Civ 5, and now I have around 700 hours in the game, which, to be honest with you, it isn't that much compared to how many hours I have in EU4 now. But, you know, back in the day, that was quite a lot for 11-year-old me on a really garbage laptop, so I'd say not bad to be honest with you. After playing Civ 5, it was about maybe 4 years ago that I discovered EU4, and that's just sort of how the whole story begins. Do you know how I can pirate EU4? Potentially, but I don't think I'm allowed to say it. Can you make Hoi 4 gameplay? It is my favorite game, and you are my favorite YouTuber, so it would be one of the coolest things ever. Well, the thing about Hoi 4 is that the trend is, when you start playing Hoi 4, the views start dropping, and that's just the consistency. That's just how it works. Hoi 4 Let's Plays are a lot harder to make because there's a lot of build-up, and it gets really boring at the beginning, so people just don't care. I am flattered that I am your favorite YouTuber, though, so that's kind of nice. But to really answer your question, maybe if I make it into a different format. Basically, no Let's Plays, but a different format, maybe. And now we get to move on to the Discord questions. My favorite. 1. Why are you so good? I don't know if you mean at the game or just at, I don't know, anything in real life. Personally, I don't think either are true, but I do feel flattered that you asked the question. What led you to play EU4? Well, I did kind of answer that question earlier, but essentially, Civ 5, and then my friend told me about EU4, and I thought it was for way too high-level intellectuals, probably because I was like 14 or maybe a little older than that at the time, so. What are your top 5 Paradox games to play? Well, assuming I only know maybe 6 Paradox games in general, I'd say the top one is obviously EU4, the second one would probably end up being Hoi, the third one, maybe Surviving Mars, because I kind of do enjoy that one a little better than everything else. And then we have Imperator Rome, and then finally CK2, because I just don't play CK2 at all. What Paradox game is your favorite besides EU4? Well, obviously it's gotta be Hoi 4, I do have quite a few hours logged into Hoi 4 already. What EU4 moment made you cry and laugh at the same time? Well, back in the day, I actually had a multiplayer series with my friends that I played. You can probably still find it because I don't think I ever took it down. But basically, back at that point, I wasn't very good at the game. I was playing Byzantium with my friends as Poland and the Mamluks, and I tried to declare war on someone whose ally was also allied with the Ottomans, and unfortunately I called them in as co-belligerent. So I called in the Ottomans by mistake, and that was fun. No, seriously though, good times though, good times. What do you do outside of YouTube and this Discord? Well, Well, essentially, a lot of you probably know that I'm still a student in university. In fact, I'm only about to enter my second term, as you're seeing this right now. But if you mean like anything as a hobby outside of this, then I do art and I make covers of songs and I post that to an Instagram account that you will probably never find, because I will never give any of you the ad. And for those of you who know me personally and already know what this account is called, don't expose, or I guess I'm just gonna have to unfriend you in real life. Any tips for understanding the EU4 AI? Well, it's basically a lot of observation and just playing the game for a really, really long time. You just sort of start to see these trends and you just, I don't know, they get burned into your brain. So, like if you refer to that stack trick that I did when saving that Castile run, where you just make a big enough stack and they don't attack you, under any circumstance, that's just something you learn over time. Do you have any pets? What are you studying and what do you want to do in the future? That counts as a little bit more than one question, but I'll answer all three. Yes, I actually do happen to have some pets. I have a dog named Toby and a cat named Shadow. I'll put the pictures up here for a few seconds just so you can take a look. I'm currently studying computer science and I plan to go into the game development stream. I don't actually know how nice of an environment it is to work for game companies, but to be honest with you, it's just something I'd rather do more than pretty much anything else except for YouTube at this point. I hear it's not like the best thing to work for because they overwork you and you generally don't get paid what you work if you're working overtime. At least that's what the stories I've heard about recently are kind of like. But I'm hoping by the time that I actually finish my degree we'll have better worker laws so I don't get exploited like the current game industry workers. What do you want to do in the future? Well, hopefully this, if it keeps going. That's about it. This and one other ambition I currently have would be finishing my degree, working for a game development company, and maybe in the future even starting one of my own, although I don't have any business experience or anything like that, so we'll see how that goes. What will be your 1 million subscriber special? Probably be me rising out of my grave, because I'll probably be long dead before that happens. What was the hardest achievement for you to gain in EU4? Well, in terms of the actual Steam achievements, or in terms of just something I'm proud of, because if it becomes something I'm proud of, it would be that Mongol World Conquest that I'm pretty much done, but not quite. It'll be done soon, don't worry about it. Sprichst du Deutsch? Ja, ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch sprechen. Ich habe einen Deutschkurs in der Universität gemacht. Advice for how to learn to edit videos. Well, basically, how I learned to edit videos is kind of a long story. I started learning how to edit videos sort of back in, I think it was grade 10 for me, so at the time I would have been maybe 16, I believe? Somewhere around that, 15, 16, something around that. So that was probably a good few years ago. I started off by taking a course in high school called Communications Technology, where they set us up with Photoshop and with Flash and with Adobe Premiere. Essentially, they handed Premiere and Photoshop to us, and they said, here, you can just sort of have it. So that's still what I use today. When it comes to actually gaining skills, though, it really comes from experience and online guides. That's where all the stuff that I didn't know before kind of came from, and now it's just sort of common sense for me to whip out whenever I'm making a video. It also doesn't hurt to try and experiment with different sorts of transitions and effects that you can apply on videos. That's sort of how I created my own little intro. It was just something I threw together in about 20 minutes probably. Why did you start and how do you think you got so popular? Well, let's tackle the second half of that question first. First of all, I don't think I'm that popular right now. I think I'm very low down there in the actual popularity spectrum. How I got to this place here is sort of a really story of luck, honestly. I mean, I've been doing YouTube for almost a solid 2.5 years right now. And it was only back a few months ago I actually reached 1,000. So, all I can say is probably perseverance and trying new things. I mean, honestly, you just gotta keep on trying and trying and trying new stuff, until eventually something sticks. And that's what happened to me back in July and August. I mean, you really just gotta keep trying. As for why I started, that's also kind of a long story. Basically, to make it short, it was me and my brother who wanted to make a YouTube channel together. It was gonna be really cringy. In fact, it actually was really cringy. So, all the content that was from back then is absolutely gone, which is good. Probably better for the world, to be honest with you. Yeah, but after a while he decided to give it up. He wasn't very interested in it anymore, and I decided to take up the mantle and keep on going, and I think I've been doing just fine by myself for about the 2.5 years, to be honest. That technically means I've been doing this for about 3 years, maybe even 3.5. If you want to think about it that far back, yeah, technically. As for the real reason why we wanted to become YouTubers, is we sort of had that douche-tuber mentality about just being really, really awful with what we were making. Basically, we wanted to make a games channel, but we also low-key had the douche-tuber attitude about it, like where we'd hype everything up and we thought we were so good and we would get 1 million views, and it was kind of cringe. So, glad that's kind of over with, to be honest with you. Do you plan on playing non-Paradox games? Actually, yes, to be honest with you. Here's a little story. So, about, I think 10 days ago maybe, looking at the date, yeah, maybe about 10 days ago, I bought Civ 6, right? And maybe about 2 days after I bought it, I also got all the DLC for it, because the Steam sale, I mean, why the hell not? And I think I have around 78 hours in the game already. That's a lot. That's a lot for 10 days. So to really answer the question, yes, I do play non-Paradox games. I play them all the time. In fact, I have a Switch, and you can't even get Paradox games on those. If you mean, will I put them on the channel? That's a different question, really, but I'll answer it anyway. Yeah, I'll probably put Civ 6 on the channel in, like, a month or something. I still need to get good at the game. So far, I can play at, like, level 6 difficulty, no problem. But I can't quite get to Deity without messing up really hard at some point, so we'll just have to see. Do you want to pick up YouTube as something more than just a hobby if we manage to make it that far? Well, to be honest with you, I already consider YouTube as more than just a hobby because it's my only source of income right now. And while you might not think it's that much income, I can assure you it's probably a little more than you expect. Essentially, yes, I do want to do this as more than just a hobby, because I already consider it as more than just a hobby. In the future, if it can pay my bills and I can survive on a decent income, then hell yeah, I'll definitely do that. Will the mods ever get paid? No, you are all slaves to my Discord server. Are you in a relationship? Like, do you have a girlfriend or are you a gamer? I love how that's the two options. You can either have a girlfriend or you can be a gamer. There's no in between. I mean, to be honest with you, yeah, I'm a little bit of a gamer, but I mean, to be honest, who really knows? Who really knows? Now there's a little bit more memes like, what's better, North or South Korea? Clearly we know which one's better. What was your first video game? Oh god. I think it was this one game for an old system that my dad got in like the 80s. I don't even remember what it was called. It was like D-Terminal or like D-Digital or something. It was this weird game. It was like a Tetris style game. Or like, or if any of you know what Puyo Puyo is, it's basically kind of like that. And I think it was made in like the 80s or something. That was probably my first video game that my dad introduced me to. Was there ever a time you thought about quitting your channel? Definitely. Definitely. More than once, honestly. Several times throughout the past, when I would put multiple hours into a video that almost no one watched, I just sat there and I'm like, this isn't worth it, is it? Definitely not, right? Because a while ago, back when I tried to become an Overwatch YouTuber, which I thought would be massive and last forever, I was wrong there. Essentially, I thought, oh, maybe I can just... But also because I literally brought nothing special to the table. Like, I would actually just copy other people's content and just sort of say, oh, that's mine now, if I have my own slight opinion attached to it. That wasn't the case, but back then I didn't really see it, so I thought, well, there's no point. Like, I spent like 5 hours on this video and it got 17 views in like a week. Like, what am I doing this for? There were a couple times that happened a little bit like that for a while. In fact, the only reason I didn't actually quit is because I had my first major success, which was like a multiple thousand view video I made for some Overwatch events, which kept me going, but at the same time, they were clickbait, and they were wrong, and I shouldn't have made them in the end because they amounted to nothing. But that did get me my first few hundred subscribers, to be honest with you, so it was worth very little in the end, but it was worth something. I don't know. I don't know what the moral of that story was supposed to be, but basically, I'm living proof that you don't quit, because you do get somewhere eventually if you put your soul into it. Do you watch anime? Yes. Yes, I do. What was the weirdest thing you ever saw playing EU4, and what was the weirdest thing in any Paradox game? Well, I can't really say anything for EU4 because everything's pretty much cursed at a certain point, but when it comes to of all games that Paradox has ever made, probably the one time that in Road to 56 there was that Iran bug where Iran got to own Tokyo for some reason. But that's already been talked about like 100 times, so I'm not going to talk about that too much. Why are you doing this Q&A? Because why the hell not? What is your most proud achievement in EU4 except for your upcoming world conquest with the Mongol Empire? To be honest with you, I don't even know. Like, I don't feel much of a sense of pride for all the stuff I do in EU4. It's just like, it's like this odd obsessive completionism where at the end I'm just more relieved that I got it done. To be honest with you, one of my proudest things I did do was this really good like Malaya Empire thing that I planned to make into a time-lapse because that's something I used to do, but it just never became a thing, so. What is your favorite religion in EU4? Well, I could just go with the basic thing and say Orthodox because it's so broken, but to be honest with you, I think I find the really unique mechanics of Nahuatl to be like a lot of fun to play around with. I also find Anglican to be not that bad because of the innovativeness gained, so I don't know. I don't have a favorite religion, but I do have some that are a little more favored for the fun aspect. What's the single most hated thing for you in EU4? Corruption from territories. That's it. Why aren't you my dad? That's a weird question, son. I don't know why you'd ask that. Will you ever do a live stream on YouTube? Probably, to be honest with you. I mean, YouTube seems like a much better place than Twitch right now, to be honest with you, and I might just make the switch soon. Will you ever do multiplayer games for your subs and patrons? Definitely. 100%. In fact, we might talk a little bit about that in the upcoming news video. Now, won't we? I find this one a little bit funny because it just says arm length with an asterisk, except there's absolutely nothing to correct earlier, so it just says arm length. I don't even know how to respond to that. The same as my height. Let's go with that. What's the meaning of life? An actual answer, not a meme one. Oh, you want an actual answer? If you want to know my real life philosophy, basically, you just keep on working, and as long as it's something that you enjoy, you just keep doing it. Eventually, you'll build yourself a little bit of a legacy, and that'll be kind of cool. I don't have a real life philosophy, you just keep on working on what you're working on. As for the meaning behind all of that, personally, I don't think there is one. I feel like there's absolutely no meaning, but I don't want to get too much into that existential nihilism today, so we're just going to keep on moving on. Will you ever play CK2 in a video again? To be honest, I probably won't because I don't even play CK2 outside of videos. It's just not something that I'm very interested in, until maybe CK3, then we'll see. What's the farthest that you've ever traveled? Well, I've really only traveled within North America, and that's been to Florida. That's the farthest place from home that I've ever traveled to. I'd like to go and see Europe one day, but right now I just don't have the time or money for that. What's your favorite historical nation, and what's your favorite historical time period? Some of my favorites would probably include the British Isles, Central and Western Europe more or less, the Far East, which includes like Japan and Korea and parts of China and stuff like that. As for my favorite historical time period, well, that one is a little bit more narrowed down. As to like anything past the 1300s I find kind of cool. As for split into actual historical points of time, I'd say the era between like the 1900s and the 1950s does pique my interest a little bit, as well as the colonial era, things from like between the 15 and the 1700s, but I also do enjoy that sort of industrial era as well, so I kind of enjoy a lot of them, but my favorite would probably be the 1900s to 1950s, because I find that quite interesting. Okay, that was a long video, and my throat is absolutely ruined. I definitely need to get a drink after this. That was a lot of questions that I just answered right there. Hopefully you did enjoy today's video. If you have any extra questions that weren't asked here or something, then I'm not going to make another one of these for a while, so you might as well drop it in the comments and I can respond, no problem. Anyways though, as I mentioned, this is Quarbit signing off, and as always, have a fantastic day.